Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And we are back with Dr. Laura Griffith here to discuss today, well, whatever the cards have in store from us, and for us, I should say. Charleston Tower and Reiki, how are you doing today, darling?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great, sweetheart. Thank you so much. As always, you say the cards, let them choose the topic and the subject, right?
Yes. I usually pull them about 15 minutes before we begin.
And what happened today?
Oh, another deep day. So we're going to talk about forgiveness, patience, and grief today.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a lot. And I was highly considering using a particular example. And when this came up, I knew that was exactly what I needed to do. So I have a client who has had a super tough start to the year because they made some realizations about a narcissistic parent over Christmas. And 50 years of denial kind of came crashing down. The perfect, wonderful childhood that they thought they had really wasn't.
Wow.
It wasn't horrid, but at the same time, it wasn't this perfect, wonderful thing. It's a covert narcissist is one of the parents, and did a lot of controlling and a lot of, if you go online, classic, right down the list, apparently. And my client thought that they were coming to terms with this, had been working with their therapist on it, and, but hadn't been able to get in to see the therapist all that much because it's been a very busy year so far, but thought that they'd gotten it worked out. Their body said no, that it really wasn't, and just this past weekend, apparently shingles erupted for them. And here's a little public service announcement on shingles. You can't catch shingles because I've had because the person came into the office, so I've had to like talk to various other clients to make sure that we were good on this. You can't catch shingles from somebody who has shingles, but you can catch chicken pox. So I've had to been asking people whether they've had chicken pox or had their chicken pox vaccine. And like my age group, it was all chicken pox. So there was no vaccine. We didn't have a vaccine yet. So we all got chicken pox. And if you had chicken pox, then if you're over 50, you can end up with shingles. And apparently my client, when they were a small child, had a very bad case of chickenpox, and so the shingles has now erupted, and it happens when you get really emotionally overwrought. Usually, it can be a physical down, but it seems to have a lot to do with emotions. And the client obviously magically had not dealt with 50 years worth of stuff that had been going on in just a few weeks, and so. There's a lot to unpack for the client, and they were coming in for some Reiki and emotional work, which I do with clients, and we got to talking, and we talked exactly about the cards that came up, which are forgiveness, patience, and grief. Forgiveness is not about forgiving someone else. It is, but it's not. It's really about your own personal energy. That's what forgiveness is about. Because when you have all kinds of resentment, anger, any negative emotions that you're harboring within yourself, it's blocking your energy flow. It's blocking your life energy. And then if you block it a lot, and you had chicken pox, so apparently you get shingles.
Yeah.
Because on top of all of this happening for them, we've had the last 2 years. So, oh God. And then I actually happened to be talking to my physician, and she's like, I have had so many people in with shingles, it isn't even funny. So just the emotional stress of the last 2 years. But for this particular client, they hadn't magically gotten rid of 50 years worth of BS.
Yep. Plain English. Yep.
Because a narcissist gaslights. It's what they do. And so you can be living in this completely delusional world where you've been told over and over and over and over it's this way, and then because that's what the narcissist does, and then you have to realize nope, wasn't like that at all. And so there's a lot of energy tied up. There was just a ton of energy tied up between this person and their parent, and I can literally see attachments and cords that tie people. It's something I do as part of my shamanic work. And so the attachment to this parent was an awful, to me, it shows up as a color. It was like baby poo green.
Ooh.
Yeah, which is, if you ever seen that, that's just not a color you like.
No.
It's just not a color you like. And to me, if you have an attachment to someone, it should be a lovely, vibrant color, and the energy flow should be back and forth and very nice. And this happens with spouse, with children, best friends. We have attachments to people. It's who we are. We're human. We need that. But they need to be a lovely, vibrant color with energy that's exchanged, not just pulled in one direction.
Yep.
And the attachment to this parent was just energy pulled in one direction. And like I said, it was baby poo green. So
yep.
just really, and not a good color. And so I removed the attachment because that's part of what I do. And we talked about the idea of forgiveness, and the idea of forgiveness is really to pull your energy back and not keep sending. Because even if I remove the attachment, cauterize the cord, and remove the root from the person, if the person still continues to ruminate and think and do everything, and then phone call and email and text with whoever you've removed the attachment from, the attachment goes right back.
Yep.
So we have to worked on the forgiveness, which there's a lovely Hawaiian ritual on this, and I'm gonna screw the name up again because I always screw it up. Ho'oponopono. Yeah, Ho'oponopono. I'm pretty sure.
The good news is I don't know it, so you could say it any way
Mostly
you want.
right.
I'll believe you. Okay.
So somebody out there, I'm really terribly sorry if I said it wrong. But you can Google it and get close, and Google will usually find it for you. But it's this really lovely ceremony where you release that energy flow toward that person, because that's what it's about. It's about letting your energy continually be sucked by someone else. Oh, yeah. Vampires are real, but they're psychic vampires. True. They suck your energy. Some people, most people who are, for short, psy-vamps, don't know they're doing it. It's a coping mechanism that they created due to whatever circumstances have gone on in their life, and they don't really know they're doing it. Narcissists, most of them know they're doing it and really like it. They love to pull your energy. They love to get you upset. They love to get so that energy just starts flowing right to them. And when you don't forgive do a forgiveness ritual, it's really hard to keep that flow from going to them no matter what.
Yep.
And so we did that. And literally the client, when they walked in versus when they walked out, the person said that their pain level had dropped by half with the shingles. I'm not saying that I'm healing shingles. Okay, not saying that. I'm just saying that there's a whole energetic thing going on here. And by doing all of the work that we had done, it started that forgiveness process properly to start to release that. Was there a bunch of crying involved? Yes. It's very emotional, but it was a release this time, and not getting more and more angry, which the client had reported that had happened every time they thought about it. They just got more and more angry.
Yeah.
And there was also a component of angry at themselves for not realizing for 50 years that this is what was going on. But when you have a covert narcissist, they're really good at BSing and gaslighting. So, and a lot of times we don't want to admit that a family member is not who we thought they were.
Oh, so true.
It's tough. It's just really tough. Especially if that family member puts on a front in public to be a really, really nice, super nice person. It becomes difficult to reconcile the super nice image that everybody else in the person's life has of this person versus what was really happening. So a forgiveness of the self was also part of this, because what did I realize? I could have realized when I was at least in my 20s. Really? No, maybe not. The person was very, very, very good covert narcissist. As it happens, I happen to know the person, and I knew their energy was way off.
Yep.
But it wasn't my place to say anything.
Of course not. No.
Until the client brought it up. So forgiveness, there's a lot going on there that has to do with releasing the energy.
Releasing, letting it go.
Yeah. It's not you condone anything the person did. You don't have to condone it. You don't accept it. It's not being reactive when they continue to do whatever the heck it is that they've been doing. So, because just being in the presence of this parent would make the client super upset. It wouldn't have to say anything, just being there. And now the client texted me this morning and said, yep, got a text from my parent, didn't respond, didn't care.
Wow. Yeah.
Which is huge for them. Huge, absolutely huge. So being able to do the forgiveness ritual and really, truly starting to let that energy release can be transformative for people. Absolutely transformative. And I think a lot of us have stuff in our background where we have to release that energy because it literally is blocking our life force energy. If you aren't forgiving, it's literally blocking our life force energy. So forgiveness, totally key. Then we come to patience. The client thought that they could get over 50 years of stuff in 6 weeks.
It doesn't work that way, no?
Especially when they weren't able to get in with their therapist very often. And especially when we have all the other stuff we have going on in the world right now for the last 2 years. Just a lot of buildup. And a lot of people think, oh, I can go in for one therapy session, or I can go in and get one Reiki session with somebody or shamanic Reiki, and everything will be perfect.
No.
I so wish
that it could work that way. Yes.
Yeah, I so wish that my treatments were magic bullets, and I could do one and done, and an entire lifetime of stuff would be washed away. I so wish I could do that for people. we can get a lot done. We can get a lot done in an hour session, but I can't wipe away 50 years of stuff in an hour session. And even the best therapist out there isn't going to be able to wipe away 50 years of stuff in a single session. It's just not going to happen. And so we have to have patience with ourselves to really work through whatever it is we need to work through. And really just know that major life change takes months, not days or even weeks. It's a process, and it's a continual process. It's a continual evolving. It's a continual gently moving forward. If you do stuff in really big leaps, it can, and try to do that, it can be so tough. Like the realization of this was a very big leap, like having everything covered. Holy cows.
Yeah.
Big leap, and results in shingles for the poor person, because it was so shocking to the system, so shocking. And without that patience to know that we can move through it, we just have to be more gradual with it and let the time frame happen the way it needs to. That calms the system down, when we know we don't have to be fixed by the weekend.
True. Takes time.
We can calm ourselves down and be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to take this in little bitty bites, just little. I'm going to nibble at it. It's how the infamous saying goes: how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
I've never heard that, but yeah, I can't. That's new. I learn something new every day. I've never heard that. That is so truly cute.
Yes. So,
wow.
I mean, it's when things are like an elephant in the room, just trying to shoo it isn't gonna work. You're gonna have to take it in little bitty chunks, just little bitty pieces, little bitty steps, and just keep working toward it, gently, gradually. That's much easier on your system. Now, if you do make some big thing and it totally whacks your system out, such that you have something like shingles or some other, something else comes up, you get a whole bunch of colds all at once, or strep comes up, various things happen when we get our immune system down. If that comes up, then you need to have patience for yourself and realize that there is a whole bunch of underlying emotion there that you need to work through as gently as possible, preferably with a professional of some variety, whether it be a counselor, or whether you need to do a forgiveness ritual, or whatever it is. Working on it just by yourself can result in things going more badly. It's because it's tough. It can be really, really tough when you're dealing with bigger issues, and sometimes just the overwhelm of everything we've had in the last 2 years can be that elephant in the room right now, because now we got potential war in Europe. Let's just add one more thing.
Just one, right? Oh my gosh.
One more thing. So if you're having issues with this, make sure to find a professional. That's what I'm really asking people to do. Look for a professional to help. There are shamans out there. There are people who do Reiki out there. There are counselors out there. Getting a counselor right now is probably harder than getting in for Reiki or a shaman right now.
Like
at least
yourself.
in our area.
Hello, Reiki master. Shaman. You are. Everybody knows. Okay.
I'm just saying, in our area, I know that, like, all the counselors that we know are all book solid. So, so getting in for counseling is more difficult. So if you can't get in for that, try to get in for something else that's going to help you start moving, like Reiki. Reiki, absolutely awesome for helping mitigate that energies so that you don't end up with multiple colds back to back, or strep breaking out, or if you've had chickenpox, getting shingles, coming down with shingles. So I'm really asking people to do that, to proactively, if there are things going on, to proactively work on this so that you don't end up in this situation. Because my client was in so much pain with the shingles. And luckily I have never had shingles. Find some wood, knock on it. I had chickenpox when I was a kid, so, and I'm over 50, so and it's been very stressful, but you know, it's just, you've got to please be proactive so you don't end up in that situation this spring, or this summer, or something like that. If we have just one more thing gets piled on, and that one more thing is just too much for you. So really proactive on that. Last thing, grief. When you have realizations like this, where you have to have a major reframe on something that went on in your past, whether it's your entire childhood or even just a relationship with a particular person. When you have to reframe that, there is a sense of grief, and it's okay to experience that. And I think that was one thing that kind of was also being held back by the client, was not experiencing the grief of having to reframe their childhood in a completely different manner. And because it's a loss, it's a complete loss of who they thought they were. Even if it's not that big of a thing, even if it's a smaller bit, you can have grief over lots of things. So many in our culture, grief is not talked about hardly at all. And we only associate it with when somebody dies.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. There is grief when you lose a friendship. And we've had a lot of people in the last 2 years lose friendships. When you lose a close friend due to ideological differences, that can be very, very, you have to grieve that. And if you haven't, this is stress building up. So I'm asking people, please, to know it's okay to grieve that. If you have to do a reframe on some event or a part of your life or something that's happened because you've made realizations, you have to grieve that. And there's quote unquote a 5-step grieving process, but that's I was talking to my husband, the counselor, about this, and he's like, just the other day, and he's like, well, yeah, there's 5 steps of grief, but they're not necessarily in steps.
Oh gosh.
So there are 5 parts of grief, but you may not follow them in the quote unquote order that it has commonly been discussed. So denial is very common with grief, and that's where a lot of people stay for a long time. Denial, nope. Especially when it's not a physical death, when it's a loss of a friendship, when it's a loss of a way of viewing self, when it's a reframe of something that's happened. They stay in denial for a long time. There's anger that goes through, and it is perfectly acceptable to be angry at a person, at yourself, at whatever it is you need to be angry at. It is perfectly acceptable to have that anger. Women in particular, we've often been told that it's not acceptable to be angry.
True.
We're taught that it's just, you can't express anger. And some men have been told that the only way to express anger is through physicality. which is not the best. Your drywall patching abilities might not be up to the task if you're going to the physicality. So that but still expressing that, finding a healthy way to express that is really good. It is part of grief.
Part of it.
It may come before denial. It may come after denial. It may come several different times. Sadness. Yes, we get sad. And again, some people have been told you can't get sad. Like guys have often been told they can't get sad. They can't show
gotta
sadness.
Stay masculine. Gotta stay.
Yeah. Stiff upper lip. But you need to express that, because again, what you're doing is blocking energy.
Yeah.
When you're not expressing these emotions, you're blocking your energy. Somewhere in your body, you're blocking the energy. Somewhere in your body, if you do that long enough, it's going to result in some sort of physical problem. It just is. It's going to manifest as some sort of physical problem. It doesn't have to go all the way to shingles. Could just be, suddenly you're coming down with colds repeatedly. It could be that suddenly your arm is numb. Because you've pinched a nerve, because you're blocking the energy right in your neck. So, it can be things like that. It can be just plain brain fog, because you've completely blocked your brain. And so the energy is not flowing properly in that zone. And so you're getting brain fog. So there are 5 stages of grief. You may not experience all of them, and you may not experience them in the quote unquote order that's fairly typical, but it's still important when big things happen, and even when smaller things happen that make shifts where you've had some form of loss, that you do express the grief. Because again, if you don't, you block the energy. You block the energy too long, you get some sort of physical manifestation.
Got it.
So,
wow.
Forgiveness, please. It's all about keeping your energy to yourself. It's not about excusing the other person. That is not what forgiveness is about. It's about keeping your energy. Patience. It takes time to heal. It takes some time to heal. Everybody's different. It takes time to heal. And grief, you got to express it in some manner, hopefully a manner that helps release it, not a manner that suppresses it. And I know that was pretty heavy today, but hey,
you're on a
it's
roll.
What came up. So, it's what we talk about.
Wow.
And
amazing.
remember, if the problem is the size of an elephant, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
You taught me something new. As always you do, but that was a cute little one. I probably should have done that years ago. I never heard. I'm going to use that today with my sister.
There you go.
Thank you, Dr. Laura
Thank
Garland. How do we reach out to you?
You can call directly, 843-259-8349. And if you need that Reiki, or you need forgiveness ritual or something like that, please get in touch. Or you can email drlaura.coach@gmail.com. That's drlaura.coach@gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Have a great day. And to all of our viewers and listeners, the same. Bye-bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you can now listen live on the MyTuner Radio and online Radio Box apps for iOS, Android, and the Amazon App Store. Or check us out online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on onlineradiobox.com/US so you don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.